Incredible journey. Heartwarming black man saved two homeless white kids 20 years later. An amazing reunion. It was on a frigid winter evening in Chicago, just past dusk, when Tyrone stumbled upon them two shivering forms huddled beneath threadbare blankets on a park bench. Emma and Jake, siblings tangled in fear and hunger, looked like helpless birds in a storm. Tyrone's heart thumped heavily against his chest, feeling their cold air of despair seep into his skin. He was no stranger to hardship. As a janitor, he worked long hours to provide for his own daughter, yet in that moment, he found the strength to push through his own struggles and offer help to those even more vulnerable. He approached slowly, each step imbued with the weight of his compassion. "You too hungry?" he asked, his voice warm but edged with urgency. Their wide, frightened eyes met his, a flicker of hope igniting within them. They nodded, trembling. With a gentle hand, he invited them into the warmth of his modest apartment, where he whipped up melted grilled cheese and steaming soup. Watching them eat, their cheeks bulging with gratitude, wrapped his heart in a soft embrace. Days turned into weeks, and Tyrone faced the ordinary challenges that came with living on the brink. Neighbors grumbled behind closed doors, their judgmental whispers like daggers aimed at his effort to heal others' wounds. Why has he helped them? They eyed his kin, they sneered. Little did they understand. He was building a family in the wreckage of his life. Emma and Jake absorbed his lessons on resilience and self-worth, truths sewn like threads into the fabric of their hearts. But doubts looped through Tyrone's mind like a worn-out record, wrinkling his own sense of purpose. He dreamed of starting a community outreach program, a dream suppressed by a world quick to judge based on appearances. "You? A janitor? What do you know?" The leader scoffed, his skin a barrier to acceptance. Each dismissal carved deeper in his heart, replacing the lightness with shadows. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. 2 decades later, the unexpected happened during a community meeting. There was Emma and Jake, now poised young adults, bursting with stories of achievement and resilience. They re-entered Tyrone's life, their success a haunting reminder of those chilly nights spent together. Joy transformed into tension, as hints of old biases resurfaced in their conversation. Each smile carried stories of what they had overcome together, but their past loomed between them like a heavy fog. Neighbors gathered, their eyes filled with curiosity, unwilling to turn away from this heartwarming reunion. Bitter truths spilled forth about inequality, as the room buzzed with energy, a collective conscience rising against the past that sought to keep them apart. Tyrone stood there, caught in the storm, feeling the community's judgment like a spotlight. Would he be able to push through and ignite real change, or would the weight of their prejudice pull him back into despair? In that moment, hope flickered in the air, urging him to share his vision, yet there was an undercurrent of fear. What if they turned against him? The pulse of the room hung heavy as he quietly faced the crowd, sensing both excitement and trepidation. Would they allow his dream to take flight, or would he remain a shadow in the periphery? The answer danced on the tip of his tongue, but doubt squeezed tight in his chest, leaving a question hanging in the air, echoing softly. Can love truly conquer all? Tyrone cleared his throat, the room shrinking around him, as he felt the weight of everyone's eyes. It was like standing on a tightrope, his heart racing between the fear of failure and the hope of acceptance. He recalled those long nights spent teaching Emma and Jake the values of kindness, perseverance, and family. Was he right to believe in those lessons? He took a deep breath, recalling his own past. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice steadier than he felt. 20 years ago, I found 2 kids in the cold. They were lost, alone, like I used to be. I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew they needed help. And over the years, those kids became family." Emma's eyes glistened with memories, while Jake nodded, his expression a mix of admiration and confidence. The crowd shifted slightly. There was movement, curiosity mixed with skepticism. Tyrone pressed on. "What I want is not just to help a few more kids, but to build a community of support. A place where everyone belongs, no matter their background." His voice grew passionate, slicing through the murmurs in the room. "People's lives are tied to each other, and when any one of us struggles, it drags all of us down. We can rise together." In the back of the room, a voice piped up, skepticism clear. "You really think the folks in this neighborhood will change overnight? Can a janitor really make a difference?" Tyrone felt a pang of hurt, but also a surge of resolve. Change doesn't happen overnight. It takes courage, understanding, and love. I'm not just a janitor. I'm a father. I've seen how love and compassion can create families from strangers. Together, we can do this." The tension thickened as some began to nod in agreement, while others simply crossed their arms tighter. Tyrone could feel the walls closing in. Emma stepped forward, their shared history shimmering between them. "I was the scared kid he helped all those years ago," she said, her voice calm and clear. "Tyrone didn't just feed us. He gave us hope. He saw us. He made us believe we could achieve anything. Look at us now. Jake is in college, and I'm starting my own business. We owe it to him and to this community to give back." Jake chimed in. "You see, it's not just his story. It's ours too. If he can lift us out of despair, imagine what we can accomplish as a community." The crowd quieted, the tense atmosphere beginning to shift. Tyrone felt the pulse of hope fluttering in the air, but the glimmers of acceptance teetered on the edge of unresolved conflict. Could he truly overcome the doubt and resentment that lingered, threatening to overshadow their progress? Then a familiar figure stepped forward from the shadows, Mrs. Cooper, a longtime neighbor known for her harsh judgments. Maybe we all need to hear this. We've been hidden behind our biases for too long. Maybe we can learn something from all of you." The words hung in the air, resonating like a bell ringing out in the night. There was a new warmth, a collective hope as others murmured in agreement, the walls beginning to crack. Tyrone's heart surged. Could change ripple through this community born from love, compassion, and understanding? Yet, as he looked into the faces of his neighbors, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What would it take for them to stand united, to truly embrace one another? And more crucially, could enough support build a bridge to mend the painful divides of their past? The next step loomed large, filled with uncertainty. "Will you stand with us?" Tyrone asked, eyes scanning the crowd, heart racing with a mix of hope and trepidation. As silence enveloped the room, it became clear this moment would shape their future. But would the courage to come together rise amidst the shadows of their histories? Tyrone stood there, heart pounding, as the room remained silent. It felt as if the air had thickened, weighing down on him and crushing his hopes. Yet, in that silence, he sensed a flicker of change. He saw faces soften, eyes searching for something deeper, something real. A few seconds passed, and then someone from the front spoke up. "I'll help," a voice called out. It was old Mr. Harris, the retired teacher with a reputation for gruffness. But beneath that exterior was a kindness that had always been there, just often hidden under layers of skepticism. "Let us make it happen. I've seen too many kids fall through the cracks because we turned our backs." As Mr. Harris' words traveled across the crowd, the collective hesitation began to dissolve. "Me too," exclaimed a younger woman, her hand shooting up. "I want to help. One by one, others began to chime in. I can contribute a space for meetings. I can organize events. I know people who can fund programs. Tyrone felt his heart swell. This was it, this was the spark of community. He exchanged a glance with Emma and Jake, their smiles lighting up the dim room like the sun bursting through clouds. They had all come so far, but maybe it wasn't just about them anymore. It was about the future they could carve out together. Let us set a date, Tyrone spoke, his voice gaining strength. We can gather again, share more ideas. We can find ways to reach out to kids who need our help most. Together. Encouragement rippled through the crowd, escalating into chatter and laughter, the kind of sounds that filled the embrace of a warm neighborhood. A woman near the back, her face hard and entrenched from years of life as struggles, stepped forward with a boldness Tyrone hadn't expected. I'm not sure, but I have a son who could use guidance. If you're really serious about helping, I can't just sit back anymore. Yes. That's exactly what we're talking about. Emma encouraged, her voice cutting through the newfound energy. We need people just like you. Let us share stories, find common ground. It starts with us. Tyrone felt the energy in the room transform from uncertainty to unity. Yet deep within, a knot of worry lingered. This was the easy part. The road ahead would be rough and uncharted. Would they all remain committed once the shine of the initial excitement faded? As the discussions continued and plans took shape, he noticed Mrs. Cooper by the door, listening intently. Her expression was softer than before, and though he couldn't read her thoughts, he hoped she was internalizing this moment too. Change was tough, but perhaps it was already happening in small, unseen ways. The evening wrapped up, and he felt the warmth of connection in his chest as he left the community center. Outside, a cool breeze whispered promises of new beginnings, washing over him as he walked with Emma and Jake. But just as the weight of hope lifted him, he suddenly spotted a flicker of light on the street corner. A small gathering of kids hunched together, their laughter mingling with the shadows. Tyrone paused. Those kids, the very type they aimed to help, reminded him of Emma and Jake years ago, lost yet hopeful. Hold on, he said, breaking away from Emma and Jake's conversation. He approached the group, and as he did, their laughter faded, replaced by wary eyes staring back at him. Hey there, he offered gently, crouching down to their level. What are you guys up to? Silence hung heavy again, but he saw something in those little faces, a mix of hope and uncertainty that mirrored his own. What he didn't know was that this tiny moment might unravel a whole new chapter in their movement. Can we make a difference for them? He wondered as he gazed into the eyes of the children, who reminded him so much of himself. And in taking that step, was he brave enough to invite them into this journey too? Tyrone crouched down, the chill of the pavement beneath him a stark reminder of the kind of world these kids lived in. He brushed his fingers over his kneecaps, forcing warmth into his voice. What are your names? He asked, offering a soft smile. The youngest boy, maybe 7 or 8, had dirty, tangled hair and a hesitant look, but he managed a timid response. I'm Jimmy. His voice was barely a whisper, a stark contrast to the vibrant laughter that had just filled the air. The girl beside him, perhaps a year or two older, clutched a worn-out stuffed bear to her chest like a shield. I'm Lizzie, she said, her eyes darting nervously as if expecting something to suddenly go wrong. Nice to meet you both, Tyrone said, his heart swelling with empathy. He remembered how Emma and Jake had struggled to find their way, lost in a world that often overlooked them. What were you laughing about? Tyrone pressed, wanting to draw them out of their shells. Lizzie glanced at Jimmy, who nodded slightly, giving her the go-ahead. We were just telling jokes, she confessed, still unsure if he was just being nice. Jokes? Tyrone asked, raising his eyebrow in encouragement. I love jokes. Can I hear one? The shyness began to melt away. Jimmy perked up, a little hesitation still hanging on. Okay. What do you call a bear with no teeth? Tyrone grinned. I don't know. What? A gummy bear. Jimmy burst out, and a laugh followed, tentative at first but joyful and real. Lizzie couldn't help but giggle, and soon they all shared in the lightness of the moment. All right, my turn, Tyrone said quickly, ready to keep this spark alive. What do you call a fish with no eyes? They looked at him, curious. FSH. Tyrone delivered the punchline without hesitation, and the kids erupted into laughter, their initial wariness disappearing into the night. As the laughter faded, Tyrone felt a pull in his chest. You both seem cool, he said, sincerity pouring from him. What are you doing out here all alone? Jimmy shuffled his feet, and Lizzie's expression turned serious. We don't have a place to go. Mom, she's not around much, Jimmy admitted, his gaze dropping. So we just hang out here. The words hung heavy, and Tyrone felt that familiar knot tighten in his gut. It was a reality he'd seen too often, a pain that pierced through the laughter they just shared. We're trying to figure things out, Lizzie whispered, the strength of their situation cutting through her brave facade. Tyrone exhaled slowly, understanding the gravity of their words. This wasn't just about them. It was about so many kids who felt lost and scared. What if I told you there are people in the community who want to help kids like you, he said softly, conviction filling him. We're going to do something great together. We're working on a program. A space where you be safe, where you can learn and play and grow. Would you want to come to that? He watched as the flicker of hope ignited in their eyes, a light he recognized all too well from his own past. Really? Lizzie asked, almost disbelieving. Absolutely, Tyrone said, feeling the weight of his promise swell within him. Let us make that happen. As doubts faded and excitement bubbled in the air, he took a step back, considering their future, the possibility of pulling them into something bigger. Would they join this journey of growth and change? He pulled out his phone, ready to relay the encounter back to Emma and Jake, ready to fuel the fire that had sparked in that community center. But as the kids leaned closer, hope radiating between them like a beacon, Tyrone felt a question form in his mind. Could he keep them in this journey and truly make a difference, or was there more waiting in the shadows that he wasn't prepared for? The night stretched before them, full of promises and secrets yet to be uncovered. Tyrone watched as Lizzie and Jimmy exchanged glances, sturdy hope gleaming in their eyes, and felt a warmth spread through him. This was the moment he had always dreamed about, stirring within him a sense of purpose. Okay, let us talk about what this place is going to look like, he suggested, kneeling back down to meet their eye level. What would you want it to have? A playground? Maybe a library? Lizzie's face brightened as she clutched her stuffed bear tighter. A library? I love to read. I want lots of books. Jimmy nodded enthusiastically. And a big soccer field. We can play all day. Their excitement was contagious. Tyrone's heart swelled even more. He jotted down their ideas, feeling the scrappy paper in his pocket fill up with dreams, stitched together by genuine laughter and hope. Books and soccer, got it. What else? They brainstormed together, each idea sparking joy. A safe space, somewhere not just to learn but to belong. It was clear to Tyrone that Lizzie and Jimmy had hopes bigger than their circumstances. It was a light he couldn't just dismiss. Suddenly, the distant rumble of thunder echoed across the sky, dark clouds creeping in. Tyrone looked up, concern filling his mind. Oh, looks like we might be in for some rain. The kids' faces turned serious. We can't go back to the shelter. It's too crowded, Jimmy said, his brow furrowing. Tyrone shifted uneasily. The shelter was not safe. He had heard stories of the struggles within those walls. How about you both come with me? The words left his mouth even as he said them. He weighed how rash it might sound. Jimmy's eyes widened. Really? You'd take us home? Lizzie looked up, her worried expression morphing into hope. Could we really? Tyrone hesitated, remembering how his own heart ached as a child for constant companionship, stability. Yeah, why not? I have space at my place. Just until we figure things out. The kids exchanged excited glances. Okay, they chorused, their youthful eagerness sparkling through the impending storm. As they got up and began to walk, rain started pouring down, a rhythmic patter against the pavement. Tyrone picked up his pace, and the children followed in a giddy sprint. Laughter replaced the initial dread of the rain, splashing through puddles like they owned the world. With every step towards his car, Tyrone felt alive. His own memories flooded back, the safety of community, moments of grace he had been gifted. An ache pulsed through him, reminding him how important it was to break cycles of despair. This could be the first step. But even as joy surged in his heart, a small voice nagged at the back of his mind. What would their mother think? Would she come looking for them? Would the authorities get involved? Tyrone could feel the clouds above swirl with uncertainty. As he opened the car door, the rain tapped insistently, as if echoing his internal struggle. Are you ready for this adventure? He asked, trying to shake off the doubt. He needed to focus on the moment, the opportunity right in front of him. Both kids climbed into the back seat, and Tyrone couldn't help these words springing to his lips. Just you wait, this is going to be just the beginning of something amazing. As he turned the key in the ignition, he felt his heart beating faster. They were driving into uncharted territories, but maybe, just maybe, this was where true change began. He had taken a leap, but the shadows of uncertainty followed them, and he couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. What would happen when their mother started looking for them? And would Tyrone be ready to face the consequences of nurturing hope where darkness once thrived? The rain poured down harder as they drove through the familiar streets. Tyrone glanced in the rearview mirror at Lizzie and Jimmy, their faces lit with excitement, yet shadows of uncertainty danced in the corners of their eyes. He wondered if the fleeting thrill of adventure masked deeper fears. The world outside, streaked with rain, mirrored the confusion swirling inside him. As they pulled into the driveway, Tyrone took a deep breath. This was home, but it felt complicated now. He stepped out into the rain, and the kids followed suit, their little shoes splashing through puddles, oblivious to the weight of the situation. The sound of their laughter broke through his thoughts, lifting some heaviness from his chest. Welcome to my world, he announced, spreading his arms wide as though showing off a grand estate. It wasn't much, a small house with a faded porch and a garden full of weeds, but it was his. He could already envision the changes they could make together, filling the empty spaces with laughter and dreams. Once inside, they shook off the rain, towels in hand, while the smell of wet earth lingered in the air. Tyrone offered them hot chocolate, and they accepted with wide smiles. As they huddled on the couch, sipping their drinks, something shifted within him. He felt like a father figure, providing for them in this moment, no matter how small it seemed. Can we really stay here? Jimmy asked, peering over his mug, the innocence in his eyes piercing Tyrone's heart. For as long as you need, he replied, hoping he spoke truthfully. He never wanted to deceive them. Yet, how long could this arrangement last? Each question felt like an anchor weighing him down. Lizzie interjected, and you'll help me find the best books? Of course. Tyrone chuckled. We'll make a list. A library in every corner of this house. As they began trading stories, Lizzie sharing her favorite fairy tales, and Jimmy narrating soccer feats, Tyrone smiled at the simple joy of their company. It reminded him of brighter days when laughter filled the air, unburdened by uncertainty. But beneath it all, a sense of dread lingered. Images of a frantic mother searching for her children began flashing in his mind. Would the authorities come knocking? What would happen if they found out? He needed to protect them, to give them the hope he'd once longed for amidst helplessness. They finished their hot chocolate, but Tyrone could feel the threat lurking outside, whispering questions he dared not voice. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. Heart racing, he glanced down to see a message notification from a friend. It simply read, "Heard about the shelter. Need anything?" Was this fate or just a coincidence? Tyrone's fingers hovered over the screen as he considered his response. He could shut everyone out, but was that right? "Uncle Tyrone," Jimmy's tiny voice broke his reverie. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, buddy," he forced a smile. But the truth was, everything felt wrong. His mind raced with thoughts of consequence and worry. He needed to decide how to navigate this unpredictable situation. "Hey, how about we take a look at the backyard? It could be great for soccer," Tyrone suggested, hoping for a distraction. The kids bounded up, and he followed, trying to shake off the anxiety. As Lizzie twirled in the rain-soaked grass, Jimmy pretended to dribble an imaginary soccer ball, their laughter vibrant against the gray sky. Yet, with every laugh, the weight of the impending storm loomed larger. What would Tyrone do when reality caught up with him? And would he have the courage to face the looming shadows, or let hope light the way in this uncertain journey? The backyard felt limitless, a canvas waiting for vibrant colors to fill its spaces. Tyrone watched as Lizzie danced with reckless abandon, her arms wide open, soaking up the rain like a little bird freed from a cage. Jimmy, fierce with determination, dodged the imaginary players in his vivid soccer world. For a moment, Tyrone let himself get lost in their joy. But underneath it all, a dull anxiety still pulsed in his chest, a relentless reminder of the fragility of their escape. "Okay, kiddos. Let's pretend this is the World Cup," Tyrone called out, suddenly caught up in their infectious enthusiasm. He had played in his backyard as a child, the thrill of victory coursing through his veins, then was almost like second-hand exhilaration now, as the kids cheered him on. "Uncle Tyrone, you kick it first," Jimmy shouted, eyes sparkling with excitement. "All right." Tyrone laughed, positioning himself as if poised for glory. He took a deep breath, planted his feet firmly, and kicked the imaginary ball, launching them into their game. As he faked a slip and took a tumble into the wet grass, they erupted in giggles, their laughter ringing through him like a healing wind. That warmth filled the space, momentarily banishing his worries. Yet, as the sun began to slip behind the clouds, changing the ambience from playful to somber, the memory of the frantic mother crept back into his mind, like dark shadows stretching across the yard. What would she do when she realized her kids were gone? Could he keep this light going in their lives while reality loomed like a distant thunderstorm? "Uncle Tyrone, you should join us," Lizzie said breathlessly. "Yeah, you're part of our team," Jimmy added, grinning broadly with joy.at their urging. Tyrone stood up slowly, and for one fleeting moment, he saw his hands not as those of a reluctant guardian, but of a leader, a protector in their little game. What if, for today at least, he could be both the uncle and the savior they needed? "That's the spirit," he cheered, diving into the imaginary match with them, morphing into a makeshift referee, a supporting coach, a friend. He couldn't hold onto the weight of his fears. Not while they were in the backyard. As they kicked their imaginary ball around, a weight lifted. They conjured a temporary world where danger didn't exist, where each kick sent worries soaring far away. They wrapped each goal in celebratory cheer, creating a tiny universe where they each mattered. But as dusk sank into the sky, something shifted. A shadow danced at the edge of the yard, a reflection of a figure standing outside the gate. Tyrone's heart stopped, panic coursing through him. Was it someone coming to take the kids back? "Who was that?" Lizzie asked, a tinge of worry creeping into her voice. Tyrone's protective instincts kicked in. "Stay behind me," he urged, his heart racing. He found himself gripped by the fierce need to shield the children. As he stepped closer to the gate, he saw the figure familiar but all too unexpected. It was someone from his past, someone who may carry answers or create more questions. Why had they come here now? What did they want? With each step forward, Tyrone felt the weight of the night settling in. He was on the brink of a decision that could change everything. Would he embrace the past, or keep fighting for their future? As he opened the gate, the soft wind carried his uncertainty, leaving him wondering who he might confront on the other side. What awaited him beyond that threshold? Tyrone hesitated just outside the gate, his mind racing, as he faced the figure cloaked in shadows. The evening air thickened, buzzing with unspoken words and tension that hung like the dampness of the storm clouds overhead. He squinted into the fading light, trying to make out the familiar features. "Is it really you?" he finally asked, voice breaking the silence with a combination of awe and disbelief. The figure stepped into the dim glow from the porch light, revealing a face he hadn't seen in years. Maya, his childhood friend, the one who had always gotten him into trouble, but had also shared his dreams. Her eyes sparkled, but they were clouded with a mix of surprise and sorrow. "Tyrone," she breathed, as if the name held all the memories of their past. "I didn't know if I'd find you here." His heart raced at her sudden appearance, years of silence crashing against him like the waves of the sea. "What are you doing here?" He kept his tone firm, but inside, he was a whirlwind of confusion and longing. I came to talk. It's important." Maya's eyes darted to the kids behind him, presenting a tableau of innocence unaware of the adult matters swirling around them. Are they safe?" "I heard about everything that happened. They're safe," he snapped, a protective instinct flaring. It felt foolish, but he couldn't shake the fear that Maya's intentions weren't as pure as she claimed. "They need you, Tyrone. You know that." Beneath her words lay an urgency that pulled at him, but he had grown cautious. In leaving their colorful backyard dreams behind, he didn't want fantasies crashing against the harsh wall of reality. "What about you? What do you want from me?" "I'm here because I care," she pleaded, stepping closer. "Life hasn't been easy, not at all. I thought of you often, how you always dreamed big, despite everything. There's more than just what it seems on the surface." He felt the tension loosen, even if just a fraction. The allure of shared history tugged at him, yet he couldn't fully let it in. Conflicting emotions twisted in his chest. Every part of him screamed to protect the kids first. "Do you have a way to help? Or is this just talk?" "I can help them help you." "You can't fight the world alone, Tyrone," she said, her voice softening into something almost soothing. Shadows closed in around them again. The kids peeked out from behind him, worried but also curious. They sensed the electric shift in the air, the urgency. Jimmy tugged at Tyrone's shirt, eyes wide. "Uncle Tyrone, who is that?" Maya's gaze fell on the children, and for a second, Tyrone saw the spark of recognition flare in her eyes. But then, sadness washed over her features. "You've raised them alone?" she asked quietly. "Don't you dare pity me," Tyrone said quickly, defensive. "I'm doing just fine." Doing fine doesn't mean being alone. He felt the weight of that statement. Her words were knives, some tender, and some cutting deep into his pride. The uncomfortable truth sat heavy in his stomach. Maya's presence unlocked something buried within him, memories he'd tucked away but couldn't let go. Did he really want to share this part of his life with her? Could he truly trust her again? As the wind began to pick up, swirling leaves around their feet, and stealing away his resolve, Tyrone held his ground. "You don't know what you're asking, Maya. Things are complicated." "Then let me help make them less so." He remained torn between two worlds, one filled with dreams, and one mired in reality. In that standoff, the kids looked between them, eyes darting back and forth, unaware of the weight pressing down upon their uncle's shoulders. Could he take a leap of faith? What if accepting her help meant taking a step into the unknown? The gray sky loomed above, reflecting the turmoil inside him. He took a deep breath, glancing back at Lizzie and Jimmy, who just wanted to play. Tyrone felt the sharp edge of responsibility clashing with the whisper of hope. "I don't know if I can trust you," he finally said, inching closer to the balance between acceptance and doubt. Maya stepped forward, her eyes earnest. Sometimes trust is born from taking the first step. As he looked into her familiar gaze, filled with both past pain and potential healing, Tyrone knew he was standing at a crossroads. The night was heavy with unsaid promises and a glimmer of possibilities. Maybe we should talk," he said, a decision teetering on the edge. The rain began to fall lightly again, washing away dust and doubts. And as the steel-gray clouds flickered with a hint of thunder in the distance, he wondered what might be waiting for him on the other side of this fragile trust. Tyrone felt the soft patter of rain on his skin, grounding him in the moment. The usual heartbeat of his neighborhood faded, replaced by the sound of droplets merging with the soft breathing of his children. Lizzie and Jimmy stood behind him, their small forms cloaked in the shadows, yet he could sense their steady eyes, watching every flicker of emotion play across his face. Maya's presence felt like a bubble, beautiful yet delicate, ready to pop if he pressed too hard. He took a sidelong glance at her, the rain catching on her hair, revealing a glimmer of vulnerability he hadn't seen before. "So what exactly did you have in mind?" he asked. The hardness in his voice belied the flicker of curiosity. "I know about a program, a place that can help. They have resources for families in need, support for kids needing guidance. I've volunteered there before." Her urgency wrapped around him, seeping into the cracks of doubt he had been carefully crafting for years. "And you just thought you'd show up after all this time and expect me to trust you?" He shot back, wrestling with anger and disbelief. "You think I wanted to? You think this is easy for me?" Maya's voice broke, and for the first time, he saw the weariness etched into her features. "I didn't come here for you or me. I came for them." She gestured to Lizzie and Jimmy, whose inquisitive eyes bore into the conversation like twin suns. "Every day, I think about my choices, the roads I didn't take," Maya confessed, and in that moment, vulnerability hung between them like a thin thread. "What kind of person would I be if I didn't at least try to help? I care about you, Tyrone. I always have. And now I care about them too." He felt the tremors of hope swell in his chest, but quickly pushed them down. Hope felt dangerous, too close to temptation. "We've gotten by on our own just fine. It's not so easy to forget years of silence." "Years of silence can't erase years of friendship," she said softly, determination glimmering in her eyes amidst the raindrops. "I don't see you bringing anything to the table," he retorted, crossing his arms against the cool air. Yet his defenses felt flimsy facing the warmth in her plea. "We're standing at the very edge, Tyrone," Maya pressed, stepping closer, "and it only takes one of us to take a step forward." He turned towards his children, who stood quietly, oblivious to the weight of adult emotions swirling around them. They were a reminder of everything he fought for. What could he lose by reaching out? "Why should I believe you?" What if he struggled with the words, the floodgates of his heart reopening with painful memories? "What if you just leave again?" Maya lowered her eyes, the tremor in her voice returning. "I can't promise. I want to make mistakes. Life is messy, and it's complicated for all of us. But I'm here now. I want to help you help them." The storm clouds above echoed his inner turmoil. Torn between distrust and hope, Tyrone sensed a shift in the air, like the stillness before a storm. Then the moment crystallized. "All right," he said, voice steadying as he took a deep breath. "We can talk." Relief washed over Maya as a slow smile broke through her expression, igniting a flicker of hope in his heart too. As they stepped toward the porch, ready to face the past and navigate the future, He couldn't shake the feeling of anticipation that hung in the air. "Just remember," he added, glancing at her sideways, "if you break my trust again, that's it." "I won't," she promised, her voice firm. But as the rain began to pour heavier, washing over their resolve and newfound connection, Tyrone couldn't help but wonder, could they really build a bridge over the scars of their shared history? What choices lay before them that might break or unite their paths once and for all? Emotions brewed within the depths of his heart as the thunder rolled in the distance, echoing the uncertainty of what lay ahead. The rain fell steadily around them, creating a backdrop that felt both cleansing and ominous. Tyrone led the way into his modest home, heart pounding in sync with the rhythm of the raindrops, feeling the weight of his choices pressing down. Inside, he hung up the towels used to dry off. Lizzie and Jimmy still hovered close by, eyes wide with curiosity, a bubble of joy trapped in the tension that filled the air. The faint smell of dampness intertwined with old wood and memories, filling their little sanctuary with a presence that felt both welcoming and daunting. Maya stepped inside, glancing around, letting her gaze soften at the walls peppered with pictures of moments long past, moments of Tyrone's life before the weight of responsibility felt so heavy. "This place has so much character," she remarked softly, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. "Yeah, it's home," he replied, reminding himself it remained just that despite the tempest of secrets beneath the surface. Moments passed in silence, tension coiling tightly between them, as the children broke the ice with their innocent chatter. "Can we play a game later?" Jimmy asked, swinging back and forth on his heels, his energy contagious. "Definitely. Let us play soccer in the living room if it keeps raining," Tyrone said, the thought of their innocent joy dissolving some of his anxieties. Nothing could dispel the bond they shared more than laughter and play. Maya chuckled, "A living room soccer tournament? You'd better prepare for intense competition." Tyrone felt the corners of his mouth lift. There it was, that intimacy of old friends surfacing again. But his laughter faltered, as heavy thoughts loomed just under the surface. They shouldn't be here, at least not like this. A past unspooled in his mind like a reel, memories unraveling the present thread. "Okay, let us talk about your big plan," he finally said, steeling himself. "You mentioned earlier that you'd help. What does that even mean?" Maya looked serious, her eyes earnest. "I know you've kept things pretty insulated here. That's understandable. But I've seen how far love can stretch if you give it the chance. There's a youth outreach program I know can provide resources. They value empathy, understanding, and community as much as you do." His chest tightened. "And how do you know it won't crumble like everything else?" Despite the flicker of curiosity underneath his words, a defensive wall stood tall. A fear echoed in his heart, a fear of being left behind again. "Because you are not alone anymore," she said with conviction. "We can do this together. These kids are our future, and are what matter most." A deafening silence fell over the room, the storm outside raging on. He glanced at the kids, who were now whispering and bouncing ideas off each other. Their laughter seeped into the walls, reminding him of all the warmth he wanted to protect. "You really mean it, don't you?" he finally said, quieter, letting the walls of his heart lower just a bit. "I do," Maya replied. "Let us face the storm together, let us lift each other up." He folded his arms, feeling a tinge of warm spark against the cold dread that had burrowed inside for so long. "What if the past? What if it haunts us?" "Maybe," Maya said, a soft smile appearing. "But it also shapes us, Tyrone. It's a reminder of how far we've come, and how much more we can achieve. Sometimes the hardest step can lead us to the richest destinations." Tyrone let her words dance around his heart, weaving in and out, stitching together the remnants of hope with the thread of possibility. "Let's do it," he said at last, voice steady. "But you've got to promise me, no backing out this time." "I promise," she said, sealing their fragile connection anew. Outside, the rain began to lighten, trickling down in a gentle patter as shadows danced in the corners of the room. Tyrone felt a warmth unfurl in his chest, the first flickers of hope kindled by renewed trust, however delicate it felt. As they made plans a community scheduled to reconnect and nurture those in need, he glanced back at Lizzie and Jimmy, who giggled while recounting their imagined heroic soccer moments. "Can we really make a difference?" Jimmy asked, eyes sparkling under the fading light. "As long as we stand together, anything is possible," Tyrone replied, hope flickering alive once more. Suddenly, through the window, he spotted a glimpse of sunshine breaking through the clouds. It was just a moment, but it marked a transformation. In that simple gleam, Tyrone finally grasped that love, kindness, and community could indeed overcome the shadows of their past. With a radiant smile, he turned, feeling lighter than before. "All right, team. Who's ready for some living room soccer?" The laughter that followed was infectious, igniting a fire in Tyrone's heart, a promise that every moment, every child, and every soul mattered. As he kicked an imaginary ball, their laughter filled the room, and he embraced the warmth of their unity. The road ahead might still be bumpy, but they were no longer navigating it alone. Together, they were ready to take on the world. And it felt beautiful. Don't wait, friends. This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this incredible ending. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Because together, we can all be part of something amazing.